Bass fishing. It's one of Bill Dance's favorite things to do. Passing his knowledge of angling to others is another of his favorite things to do. In today's episode, our host will be doing just that by answering some of the numerous questions our viewers send through email and social media and even by U.S. mail. Let's join him on the lake. I believe he's already into the fight.
I mean, he was straight out of the boat. Strong too. There's another one right there with him, about the same size. I got another bait rigged. There we go. Big old long Jesse there, ain't it? Woo! Toodaloo. Why are so many big bass caught on slow-moving lures? That's a pretty good question. Well, there are two key reasons, and there are two good reasons. Largemouth bass are not tailored to long pursuit, meaning they're not going to do the 100-yard dash to get a snack. And secondly, and perhaps most importantly, is limited strike speed. Now, researchers at Florida State studied the largemouth bass to determine how increasing body size affected jaw physiology and feeding behavior. Although jaw structure increases proportionately as size increases, larger bass open and close their mouths slower than smaller bass. This produces a slower overall strike speed and larger fish. According to research, the strike of a 5-pound bass takes 50% longer than that of a 1-pound bass. Strike speed continues to decrease as the bass size increases. Based on this study, when fishing for large bass, it might be smart to wait a second or two before setting the hook. Whoa. Nice. Wow. What you gonna do, Buster? Huh? What you gonna do? Huh? Gonna show off a little? Big pretty thing. Threw my worm off, didn't you? That's okay, I got some more. 16 of them in a bag. Here's a good question. When fishing heavy cover, what type of rod and reel is best for casting when using light lures, such as lightweight spinnerbaits, jigs, or crankbaits? Well, my choice is a 7-foot, medium heavy spinning rod with a wide spool reel. Now, the key ingredient here is your line. I use Strand Super Braid with a strength of 20-pound test, and it's got about a 6-pound mono diameter. Now, the thinner diameter braid allows you to cast little 1/8-ounce lures at the same distance as you could with a 1/4 or a 3/8-ounce lure. Now, the reason is that the thin diameter spins off the wide spool so much easier and so much faster with the long rod. And what else the long rod does, it gives you added power when needed to make a long cast. Plus, it helps in fighting a fish out of thick cover. And that's very, very important. Of all the soft plastic lures used on the Carolina rig, what's the most popular? Well, believe it or not, most of them will work, but the most popular used is the plastic lizard. Ooh. Hit it right at the boat. Strong fish, boy. Strong fish. You got double hooked, didn't you? What are you thinking, huh? Thinking you want to go home? I'm gonna let you. Bye-bye. Okay, here's one about sight and sound. Would you not agree two of the most important factors in attracting a big bass are action and sound? In attracting a big bass, action and sound are paramount. Those two things are most important. First of all, smell and sound are important, but not nearly as important as sight. A bass may hear an offering, but he needs to see it to eat it, and action is the key. When fishing for really big bass, it's smart to curtail all noises that are abnormal to fish. Surprisingly, this includes many of those lures that shake, rattle, and roll. Sure, giant-sized bass will strike a noisy lure intentionally, simply because of its protective instinct. However, I honestly believe lures that make no noise and can be worked slowly, like plastic worms, tubes, lizards, grubs, crawfish, jigs, with plastic attractors, and creature baits are much more effective on huge bass. Lures that create no negative cues, like the ones mentioned, have less chance of rejection because the bass relies on what its eyes tell it, not what its eyes or ears relate. When I think back of the really big bass that I've been fortunate enough to catch, most have been caught on quiet, slow-moving baits. Bottom line is, you only have to fool their eyes. Remember, to catch a bass of a lifetime, use repeated casts and slow retrieves with lures that look and act very natural. Now here's a question a fella asked me recently. When it comes to fishing rods, are power and action the same? Well, not really. A rod's action refers to the amount of bend in the rod from the tip to the butt section. Now power describes a rod's overall stiffness or resistance to bend. It has nothing to do with action. Yeah, we got him somewhere. Just full of grass. Oh, you're gonna make me come to the back. I don't want to hurt you. Nice. Okay. Toodaloo. There's one right there. Oh, fish is coming up with it. Oh, tugging, baby. They just love to go into that boat. I guess it's just this darkness. Oh, baby. All right, say open up. There we go. Okie dokie. Here's a question concerning sight. Can you elaborate a little about just how well a bass can see? Biologists and ichthyologists have discovered that a bass's eye receives 5 times more light than ours does. In other words, a bass's eye is 5 times more sensitive to light than that of the human eye, which allows them to see at much lower light levels and at much greater distances. Researchers say that a fish can see more than 40 feet in relatively clear water. Wearing a diving mask, a person can see 10 to 12 feet in similar conditions. Now in stained water, where we can see 2 to 4 feet, tests show that bass can see approximately 14 to 16 feet. Now in muddy water, where a human's vision might be limited to just 6 inches or so, bass can see 3 to 5 feet. So it's obvious that water clarity should be one of your main concerns in selecting the proper bait. Even before you wet a line, just knowing the water clarity can offer some clues about the preferred depth of the bass. As a general rule, the clearer the lake, the deeper the fish will hold. In dingy to muddy water, the fish will hold much shallower and usually relate to cover. Stripping line. Oh yeah, look at, wow. Look at the size of this one. And watch them, every one of them want to go around the trolling motor. That is flying. Oh, going hard pulling fish. Still quit. Woo! I'll get that hook out of you. One time, you got that? Potted. Toodaloo.
We hope this episode has given you some new insight into catching the mighty largemouth bass. Bill enjoys answering your questions, so keep them coming, and we'll try to answer them in future episodes. Until then, be safe on the waters, and we'll catch you next time.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.